Hey everybody, Quantum here, and in this video I have what I would say is some of the most anticipated cards to test out in Reign of Jafar Set 8, and that would be the new Hades Ruthless Tyrant as well as MONSTRO Infamous Whale. So on my end, I'm going to be using the Ruby Amethyst deck that I did a profile for. You can check that out probably in the description with a link to that. I will say after testing, I am definitely going to be changing the deck around, so I'll probably do a profile 8.1, and my friend here is going to be on Sapphire Amethyst or Blurple with the new MONSTRO. These are probably some of the more anticipated cards coming out in this set. I think the MONSTRO is definitely going to see a lot of play. The Hades, like I've talked about before, seems very good in some decks or in some matchups, mediocre in some others, but overall I think it is a good card. Now I am a little sad because we did play two matches. They were quite long matches as we were both kind of control decks, so to speak. And I forgot to record the second match, and I had some really, really good interactions in that second match. So unfortunately, I didn't record it, but the good news is my friend who just started his YouTube channel after me telling him to for many months now, and he did record both. So I will post and pin a link to his channel where you can go and check out that second match. I really recommend you do because it shows some really, really nice interactions with the Hades, the Ursula, the Maui Shark, and all the different things you can do. So in this first matchup here, we are going to be on the draw, which isn't great against Blurple, especially if they get that turn 2 ramp, which you can see my opponent did. Turn 1 Popsicle, no Bell. We go for the Palace Guard here. And you could make a case if you didn't want to play Palace Guard, you could just do like 1-3 Minnie Mouse or something like that, or Olaf or Pain, I think is the other 1-3 that recently came out as a 1-drop, because then you're not susceptible with the Vanish ability. But the nice thing here is in this particular matchup is you actually survive a Bell, right? Bell can crash into Minnie Mouse for free and survive, where they can't really crash into the Palace Guard. And the more things that your opponent turns sideways is good for you, right? Because this Ruby Amethyst deck wants to challenge things, it wants to tap things down. I was testing out no Be Prepared. In my 8.1 iteration, I decided to put in at least 2 Be Prepared. There's just too many scenarios where it comes up. Even though it is increasing the uninkable count, I don't want to go above 14 if I can avoid it, but we can afford to play a little bit more. So on turn 3, they develop a goat. They're essentially 2 turns ahead of me though now, right? Because when I pass back to them, they're going to be on 5 ink. I only just developed my 3-drop. They can develop a 5-drop this turn, right? So this is the power of Blurple. When it's on the draw here, on the play, I mean, and they get their turn 2 ramp, this is where the deck is extremely, extremely hard to stop. And honestly, where a card like Be Prepared can really help you stabilize and come back in this matchup. Being a challenger-focused deck, we are able to push through locations. So McDuck Manor's in the Ruby Sapphire as well as in Blurple. My opponent here was not on the locations, which is fair because you're probably, again, testing out some new cards. Locations can be taken out and, Monstro slotted in, for example. But our curve here, 1, 2, 3, we've got the 2-drop Ursula. I do have the shift target for the Ursula, but right now when you're on the draw, I just think it may not be as useful. In theory, it would seem good, right? Because you can force exertion, gain tempo back by doing a positive trade by forcing the exert. But the 1-3 Ursula is just a little underwhelming. You can see here, I'm not doing anything with it because I want to keep it up. And then I eventually just say, yeah, I'm going to have to forego the Ursula shift line. There's just more valuable things to do. I need to see my Brawl, Peter Pan Shadow, Iago, Maui Sharks, right, to start dealing with these genies. Otherwise, I'm going to be in trouble. So I trade out my Ursula. And my opponent did start with I think 3 friends so far, or he'll play his 3rd one here or something like that. And I'm just like, yeah, that's a lot of card advantage. And this is what Blurple does, right? They want to play 3 to 4 Finders Keepers. They want to find all of their friends. They draw probably the most cards, just without milling with a whole new world. They probably just draw the most cards out of any deck. It's crazy. So they're going to find their answers, and this is a bit of a problem, and why Blurple is strong is because they're going to end up sitting on things like Let It Goes and Hades for the big threats that they want to out all the time, chipping away with genie quests, playing goats, as you see my friend doing here. He's a very experienced Blurple player. He's going to I think an invitational at the end of May for the high level Toronto players. So he knows what he's doing. Here I'm checking my discard pile, and developing hard casting friends isn't the greatest. I ended up losing my singer in the crab, but that's okay. We're going to also end up developing the queen, and we're setting up for that Hades, right? We're setting up for Hades coming in, dealing 2 damage, and getting the value there. The issue is I still don't have Brawl, and some of you pointed this out in the deck profile. No early card draw, no genies, no. I mean, I have Diablos and Friends, and I've seen 2 Friends, but no rabbits, etc., no bounce. I'm going to be starved for card draw in the early part of the game. You can see my opponent here is on 4 cards. I'm keeping track, but they have a bit of an underdeveloped board technically. This genie is a problem. Like, I should have an answer for it, but I just can't find one right now, and that's part of the problem, right? I just don't have the card draw for it. But yeah, being up on ink, having more or less equal cards, they are technically in an advantageous position here, and part of the reason is because they have cards like this Tamatoa, Recurring Popsicle for a free cantrip. They have seen 3 Friends, they have Genie to redraw, they have Sails to redraw, and then they can ramp aggressively. The board state looks kind of equal now. We were looking a little bit ahead, but obviously when we pass back to the opponent, they're still 2 ink ahead of us. They're going to be able to aggressively play out their cards, and where it becomes a dicey situation is when they can start doing things like this, hard cast Friends or Finders Keepers, and then still continue to play interactions in the following turns. They banish their Popsicle, play out a Bell, pass over to me. We draw a Moana. Not really. I mean, it is useful here because it can contest the Genie. So you could argue that I should focus on developing this Moana. What I can do here, but yeah, I guess the issue is the goat's still on board. And if I threw all of my characters into the goat, not that I would do that, I'd probably just have to let the goat live, but I could throw my 3, 1, and 4 characters into the goat to take it out, but then I would lose all those characters, right? So obviously that's not good. I opt to play the Maui here instead. I quest with the Diablo. I need to, not that I need to draw off this Diablo, but it would be good to draw off of it because I'm still 2 turns away from the Hades, and I do need to slow the game down. So you could argue if I opted to play the Moana here, it might have been a stronger play. I would have left up their 4 characters, and I'm afraid of what else they might develop. The issue is, if I don't get value right away of removing something on the board, they have enough ink that they can start playing their removal, right? Like the Hades, Infernal Schemer, and the Let It Goes would be a problem. And if they Hades away my Moana, this is the downside of not having the Peter Pan Shadow Finder, is that I just developed that Moana and I just lost. That would have been a game-losing play if they had the Hades, which they undoubtedly do. They've drawn so many cards already. So again, the purpose of this deck is I'm trying to manage the board state, which I am doing. The lore count is still fairly even, but here you go. There's the Finders Keepers, the draw 3, very, very strong, and they're essentially saying I'm taking a turn off. They're able to ink again because of the sale. 4 cards in hand, a lot of ink, and undoubtedly, right, they're going to have a Monstro, they're going to have a Hades in their hand right there, waiting for the perfect time to deploy it, and that's what I'm going to have to play around. This is where the new 7-drop Hades can become a bit of an issue, but again, if you watch that second match, go to my friend's channel, check it out, you see that the goal is with these higher end threats. If you watch the deck profile, the Ursula, the new Hades, not Infernal Schemer, Ruthless Schemer, the new Hades, Ruthless Tyrant, and the Maui Half Shark, they all are big threats that your opponent has to be like, okay, which one do I answer? If they don't have a B prep, right, and you wouldn't overextend into B prep if you know that your opponent is playing B preps or they're on a control Ruby deck, but you'll see it in match 2. My friend here has to decide which card do I decide to take out between all of these big threats. If I don't take out one, I'm susceptible to the other, or vice versa. You get card advantage off it. It's a real nice problem to have for you. When you're like, I know you're going to remove something, but you can only remove one thing, so make your choice. So here you can see we sync Friends with Maui, opting not to use it to take out the Bell because we lose our Maui there as well. The opponent's still only on 4 lore. They've got a couple of cards in hand. We sync Friends, we drop the Hades, we put the 2 damage on the Queen of Hearts. The game is lagging a little bit here, so I opted to just wait and let it see if it resolved or the pings came back down. But now I can either challenge with this Queen and take out the Bell in a trade. I could just quest and say, if you want to throw your card into it, that's fine too. I do have to be a little wary of foxes, right? Because the Blurple deck still does play fox. So the fox can come in and get some value. But the Maui is going to trade out with something as well. I opt to quest. And I think I opt to maybe keep up the Palace Guard just in case this Hades lives, or I just opt to recast my next Hades next turn. The issue is I don't have efficient removal. The Dragonfire is a 1-of in the deck and it's good, but it's just crazy that I don't see any of the brawls or anything. Like, this Genie has been on the board for a long time. And thankfully it hasn't gotten a lot of lore yet, but like, you know, I just need to see something to deal with it. You could argue that, you know, I have the Iago in hand, again, without the Peter Pan Shadow. It is a little slow, but I could develop the Iago, and then just, you know, I have to just bite the bullet and say, well, you know, you're going to Hades something. You may have 2 Hades, but the Iago is actually not that bad in this matchup because it does have evasive, and that means the Monstro can't also take it out. So here they drop the Infernal Schemer, so there's one use of it. My friend's like, oh wait, let me just decide what I want to do here first. So yeah, they're going to quest with the Genie, quest with the Tamatoa, go to 8, and now they're going to start turning on, or putting their foot down to the pedal, get the gas going, and start the quest. So the bell trades out. They've got a pretty good board here now. I can't contest the Genie. I can Dragonfire it. Doesn't feel great. I draw more of these Ursulas, and this is where it becomes like, I really wish these were something else at this point. If I would have had the setup going, it might have been better. You could argue that I could have tried to go for the shift line and just let my opponent develop a little bit of a board and try to develop that control. The issue is, I mean, even if they Hades it, that ramps me +2, so that actually wouldn't be that bad. So looking back, like, that might have been the option, just letting them get a little bit ahead, develop their board a little bit more in order to get these positive trades, like quest with the Ursula, prevent them from singing, right? They're going to throw stuff into the Ursula or put it into my Inkwell, which double ramps me, and then my Queen of Hearts and things like that are able to positively trade out. So I'm going to go ahead and Dragonfire the readied Genie. You could argue that I should Dragonfire the damaged Genie, and the reason for that is because if they have the Bell Accomplished Mystic, they can move those damage counters from that Genie. So why give them that option? I plan to take out the Genie in one swoop anyways with the Iago. So I double challenge the Tamatoa, lose both of my characters. I have an Iago on board, and now I'm actually in a really dangerous position. The opponent has 4 cards in hand. If they go another Hades Infernal Schemer, or Let It Go or something like that and develop more characters, here you can see them drop a goat, I have no board, right? The issue that my opponent faces is they don't want to inefficiently remove my characters, right? Clear my board out, and then I'm just like, yeah, be prep, right? So they may look at this and say like, okay, I don't actually want to Hades here. I'm just going to develop cards that can play into the be prepared, and then I have the follow-ups for the next turn. So here, yeah, you can see the consequence of just not being able to deal with these Genies. They're going to go ahead and quest with the Hades, not with the Genie, because they don't want it to be taken out by the Iago. And this is, again, why this deck can work fairly well. We're going to go ahead, drop the Hades, put 2 damage on Iago. Doesn't matter for the Iago. He can take all that damage. Draw 2. And we do have the Ursula line, as well as a Queen of Hearts that we could populate on the board, right? If the Hades lives here, and I think my friend at this point says like, wow, you just don't want to play your Be Prepared or something like that, I think he said. But we're not on Be Prepared, right? Again, testing without it, but I think these matchups show that Be Prepared, especially when you're on the draw, is the almighty reset. So it's definitely worth playing at least 2 copies of. Like, once you get to this stage in the game, you're going to draw a lot of cards from your deck, so you will likely see it. But here, yeah, we're going to go ahead quest because the Iago is likely going to be safe. Like, unless they top deck or drop an Elsa and they want to do Elsa and Genie into the Iago, which they wouldn't do, right? They'd rather just continue to quest. They have the lore pressure on board now. They played this game pretty well. They go ahead, drop another Genie, draw a card. They got 4 in hand still. Again, I'm just banking on they have Monstro, they have another Hades up. They're going to go ahead, quest to 13, quest with Hades, go to 15. Inkatipo, go ahead and play out. Yeah, so they do drop the Elsa, taking out my Diablo, giving me a draw 1. And there finally is the Peter Pan Shadow. Still no Maui Shark, though, which is brutal. They're going to go ahead, quest, go to 16, actually. And now looks like they just win the game, right? No B-Prep is, basically GG's. Not necessarily. You're going to see that we are going to be able to do something. The first thing that we need to do is quest with the Hades. I'm thinking, like, do I need to challenge with this Hades? Like, or can I afford to quest here? So because I have 2 rush characters in hand, I can't afford to put 2 damage on the Ursula most likely, because I'm not going for the Ursula shift line. Shouldn't put it on the Iago. I think I move it. Yeah, there you go. Because I'm going to have to crash this Ursula, right? There's no point in shifting. So again, you can see I literally drew all the Ursulas, I think, in the deck, and they were all like not valuable in the moment. So I just had to keep inking them, which is really unfortunate. But that's how it goes sometimes, right? Don't see the Maui Sharks, but we see the the Ursulas, unfortunately. But yeah, we are going to be able to clean up this board a little bit. We do have 10 ink, so we can play the Maui for 5 and the Elsa if we want to. But the Elsa doesn't really do much here because it's going to tap down the fresh genie. Sure, but they still have another genie up anyways. So let's see what we opt to do. I'm thinking kind of hard here. I do have 2 Pirates life to keep me in the game, which could be a factor. So we're going to go ahead and drop the Maui, taking out the Hades, and then we're going to use the Ursula to take out the Goat. So, you know, good value there. Use the Iago to take out the Genie that is exerted. So we up to 4 damage on the Iago. And we cleaned up the opponent's board. They still have lethal on board, though, because they gained a lore from Goat going to 17. Genie plus Elsa here equals game. So I do need to do something. The Peter Pan Shadow or the Elsa are not enough, right, in order to take out the exerted Elsa. So I do need to basically deploy this Pirate's Life. I'm going to ink the Ursula Sea Witch Queen, and then drop the Pirate's Life here in order to reduce the opponent's life by 2. Gain the 2 lore, but the gaining of the 2 lore doesn't really matter. The opponent draws, I think they might be on, are they on 5 cards in hand or 3? 3, okay. So again, that's good, right? They shouldn't have too many options. The issue is if they're just holding on to more Hades and or Monstros at this point, it could be very, very painful. And this is what's cool about the Blurple deck. Like the Monstro, you know, I talked about this before, like you don't necessarily need to like discard 3 and 4 cards. Like you just need to discard like 1 or 2. And sometimes you just want to discard 1 just to ready it back up. And the damage that he takes, because Blurple plays Popsicle, like you can actually pop your Popsicles and get good value to heal up your Monstro so you can continue to take down characters. Speaking of which, there comes the Monstro. And yeah, I was assuming he was going to just take it out, but it makes no sense because my Maui can't challenge anything here, right? So he just discards and says, yeah, I'll leave my Monstro up. He has 1 card left in his hand, but he does quest back up to 17. And unfortunately, we draw a Palace card, so not the card we want to see in this scenario. What's crazy is I have the Peter Pan, and if I would have drawn into Maui Shark, I might have had a way to stay in this game. Actually, no, because I need to cast this other. I mean, I guess I could deploy the Maui Shark, and then no, I can't even. Yeah, well, I do. I'd have to ink. Man, that's really rough. No, I can't do that, right? Because I need to do the Pirate's Life and the Maui Shark, I need 12 ink, which means I'd have to ink the Elsa if the Palace card ended up being a Maui Shark. So that doesn't work. I can survive this turn because I could do Pirate's Life or I could do Elsa. Elsa tap down the Monstro, Elsa crash into their Elsa, and then Maui crash into the Monstro. Because Monstro is questing for 2 next turn too, right? And then I can hard cast the Pirate's Life if I wanted to, or drop the Peter Pan Shadow instead. Okay, no, sorry. I can drop Peter Pan Shadow, take out the Elsa, and this play is worse, and I take it back. Again, my friend and I are testing, so he's like, yeah, it's no problem. And I'm like, no. You know, putting you down to 15, you quest back up to 19, but you still have your Monstro on board, then you can still discard and ready it back up, right? So I'm like, it actually makes more sense for me to drop the Elsa here, which, you know, I could have dropped Elsa and kept Peter Pan Shadow in hand, but I'd rather develop the Peter Pan Shadow anyways, because if I draw Maui Shark, I want it to be live right away. So yeah, this is a really interesting situation. Not seeing the brawls and stuff to deal with these genies, you can see how bad it is, right? Like you need to see those efficient removal options for the genie, otherwise it can really just run away with the game. I did get the Iago up, but it was too little too late and just not enough. But yeah, it makes more sense here, as you're going to see me do, is to drop the Elsa instead of hard casting the Pirate's Life. because then I can sing the Pirate's Life. Well, I can't sing because I won't have one. But if I draw Maui Shark and then drop it and it is able to rush in, I could recur the Pirate's Life, sing it. But I have to tap down the Monstro, crash into it with the Maui Shark. You could argue again, like, I should use the Elsa and not the Peter Pan Shadow to put damage onto the genie. But I definitely should have used the Elsa to rush into the other Elsa. Sorry, into the Elsa, not the genie, into the Elsa, because like now, what I could do is I could put some damage on genie, but the issue is, like, if they have the Bell Accomplished Mystic, they can out my Peter Pan Shadow now. Whereas if I put the damage on my Elsa rushing into their Elsa, if they Bell Accomplished Mystic their Elsa to put the damage on my Peter Pan Shadow, it would still live. And that's the goal. I need the Peter Pan Shadow Finder to live so that if I top deck the half shark, I have some counterplay. So I deploy the Palace Guard and pass turn. The opponent's going to go to 19. I think they've used up all 4 of their goats, at least 3 of them for sure. They've only got 2 cards in hand. They hard cast the Bell, and if they have another character here, it's going to be pretty rough. And they have another Monstro that can't rush because it doesn't have evasive. Could you, like, honestly, guys, like, could you imagine giving Monstro evasive? That would be crazy. Anyways, I draw this Ursula and I'm like, oh my god, I literally drew every single Ursula and it's been like the worst card for me in this matchup. So I lose the game off of that because I could crash into the genie and then play the Pirate's Life, but the opponent, would still just go back up to 20 anyways because they have the 3 lore on board. So I'm just looking at the top of my deck and being like, where is the Maui Sharks? Where is it? No, can't find it. And I saw the Peter Pan Shadow too late. But that's how it goes. So my friend is able to take that one. Monstro showing how good he can be. But you're going to really want to see match number 2 to see how good Ruby Amethyst can be.